Welcome back. It's time now for Media Watch with the ever effervescent James Creedon.
Well, I try.
You're wondering what I was going to say there, weren't you, James? Let's start with Facebook and reports in France of those private messages being made public on timelines. Now, Facebook is saying this is not the case. That's not true.
That's right, and there's still a certain amount of confusion over it this evening, Annette. It came out yesterday afternoon in news reports in France. The first to report on it was Metro France, which is a sort of a free paper you get in public transport, etc. So let's take a look at some of the coverage online this afternoon. You have Les Inrecuptibles saying Facebook versus your private life. And that's their headline. They're talking about this guy. You also have Slate.fr saying, was it a bug or were people imagining it on Facebook? Why nothing can be proven for now. So just to go through down what happened, Facebook is soon going to have 1 billion members around the world. So privacy issues are pretty important when it comes to this website.
And the way it handles it affects its share prices as well.
That's right. Share prices plummeted yesterday by 9% before the end of close of the stock market in New York, for example. So the facts here are a lot of people started talking. A rumor began to propagate online that private messages were appearing on people's walls, on people's timelines, dating back from about 2009. Now, then various French media spoke about it. There was a denial subsequent to that by Facebook via the TechCrunch website, saying no, these are just your privacy settings that you haven't correctly configured. This is nothing to do with old private messages being made public. A lot of people on Twitter and on social media are saying that's not the case, that they have noticed old private messages having become public. Now, the problem there is it's very difficult to prove, even with a screenshot, that this now public message used to be private. So Facebook could very easily say, hey, that message was always public. It's just going back to 2009. You've forgotten, right? So this is the problem. In any case, it's bad news. It's a lose-lose situation for Facebook because either this is a massive privacy glitch and they're going to have to explain themselves to the authorities, or it's just a misunderstanding about extremely complex privacy settings, which shines the spotlight on this issue. I saw one explanation, for example, people saying, oh, this is just the new timeline that is being introduced in France. It's been introduced for about a month, 6 weeks, if not more. So it's not people kind of coming to terms with the new format. It is just very complex privacy settings that maybe people are now kind of discovering, if you like. Or it was a privacy glitch.
Well, we'll have to see how that all pans out. Now, bad news for French newspapers, and certainly as a former print journal, I'm sad to read this, that Air France is going to cancel its order of newspapers for its entire fleet.
That's right. Now you can see here online on the business paper La Tribune, is this towards the end of newspapers on board? Now Air France are saying that they're going to move towards digital copies of newspapers by the first quarter of 2013, i.e. if you have a smartphone or a tablet, they will allow you to access today's version of your newspaper of choice. They estimate 75% of passengers have smartphones and 40% have tablets. Now, they are the biggest customer for the print press in France. 130,000 copies of newspapers are bought by Air France every single day to be distributed on board their aircraft. So what we're looking at here is a massive shift. Let's take a look at this particular graphic, which shows for Libération, left-leaning paper, 14% of their sales go to Air France. Les Echos, a business paper, 12.5%. Le Monde, 11%. Le Figaro, 10%. This would be a massive blow to the print press in France.
Now, speaking of planes, this man doesn't seem to get much right, does he? And I'm talking about Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney, who's made a plane-related gaffe in more ways than one.
It's pretty extraordinary, Netta. It's hard to believe that a man of his senior level in politics and business could say something like this. He was speaking to an LA Times journalist, this at a fundraiser in California over the weekend, and he was referring to an emergency landing that a plane his wife was in underwent because there was a fire on board. Pretty scary, it must be said. He told the LA Times journalist, when you have a fire in an aircraft, there's no place to go and you can't find any oxygen from outside the aircraft because windows don't open. I don't know why they don't do that. It's a real problem. It's very dangerous. Windows don't open in aircraft, Mitt Romney, because actually oxygen would first of all add fuel to the fire and completely, and also because a loss of cabin pressure would rip the fuselage apart. You'd think he would know that. Let's take a look at what people are saying on Twitter about this. It's official. The Romney campaign is a plane wreck. Mitt Romney spends more flights wondering why most flights wondering why the plane's wings don't flap, and another person saying, well, maybe, the windows should open and see what will happen to Mitt.
Look, I very quickly, James, because we don't have much time, this is a story I desperately want to finish with. The story of the Canadian romantic who's heading to Ireland.
All right, I think we have some pictures of him as well on ABC News. He has been speaking to all of the news media. He's a dentist from Canada. He went back to Ireland where he had been on holidays last July. He's now going to stay for a month, right? Because he came across a mystery auburn, red, kind of browny-haired girl, around 5 feet 6 inches. He was talking to her in a cafe in the west of Ireland in County Clare, and doesn't have her name, doesn't know anything about her, but hasn't been able to forget her for the last year. So he's gone back to Ireland in search of this mystery redhead. And as a lot of people are saying, well, red, brown hair, 5'6", that's kind of a common feature in Ireland. It's going to be tough to find her. Other people are saying plenty more Colleens in the sea, so if he doesn't find her, no worries.
James, you don't know it, do you?
I don't. I don't think so, at least.
James Creedon with Media Watch, thank you.
Thanks, Annette.
And coming up in web news, an adults-only site with a heart. Italian entrepreneurs are trying to raise money for charity with porn. Stay with us here on France 24.